ever get that, like, I don't know, a weird feeling, like you're reading the same stuff online over and over again, like deep dive, exploring the panorama, stuff like that. It's like the internet is playing buzzword bingo.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what I think is kind of at the heart of it?
Yeah.
AI writing tools. ChatGPT.
Right.
They're everywhere these days, right? From like student essays to the articles we read on, all the websites. And today on our deep dive, we're really honing in on how these tools impact, everyone's writing, but especially that crucial element of authenticity.
You've hit on something that's actually really important. It's funny because that sense of repetition, you're noticing that, like, I've read this before kind of feeling. That's kind of a telltale sign of AI's, AI's growing influence on how we write.
So it's not just me being, a grumpy grammarian or whatever.
No, not at all.
There's a real phenomenon here.
There is. There really is.
Okay, so that explains, like, the why. But our listener, they wrote in because they want answers, right?
Of course, yeah.
How do we stay true to our own voices when these AI tools are so good at sounding like, well, kind of like everyone else?
Right. Yeah. In this source that you sent, I think it offers some really, really good guidance on this.
Okay.
The first point they make is edita lo que generes.
Yeah.
Edit what you generate.
Okay. So treat it like it's like a first draft from a very enthusiastic intern, right?
Yes. Don't be afraid to, like, really get in there and rework stuff. Change the phrasing, swap in words that you would actually use.
Yeah.
Remember, the AI, it can put words on a page really fast, but it's up to us as writers to kind of infuse it with our own perspective and style.
Yeah, it's about taking ownership over it.
Exactly.
Not just hitting accept on whatever the AI suggests.
Precisely. Think of it more as a tool to, like, if you've got writer's block or just to help get those initial ideas down.
Yeah.
But you can't just use it to bypass the hard work of making your writing, like, really compelling and original.
Which brings us to the next point from this source. Da instrucciones específicas a la IA, which means give specific instructions to the AI.
Yes.
It sounds so simple, but is that really all it takes?
It sounds very simple, but it makes a huge difference. You have way more control over what you're getting from the AI than you might realize.
Really?
Yeah, if you need simpler language, if you want simpler language, tell it that.
Okay.
If you hate jargon, tell it that.
Right.
The clearer you are with your instructions, the more tailored the output's going to be to what you actually need.
So it's like, I don't know, like ordering a coffee, right? You wouldn't just walk into a coffee shop and be like, coffee, please.
Right.
You'd say, iced oat latte or whatever your preference is.
Exactly. You got to treat it almost like a collaborative partner.
Okay.
You need to kind of understand its strengths and definitely its limitations, just like you wouldn't expect the barista to read your mind. Right. Don't expect the AI to just magically know how you like to write.
Be specific.
Be specific. Be direct. And honestly, don't be afraid to experiment until you find what works for you.
I love this idea of, like, collaboration, not replacement.
Right.
But even when we're giving good directions to this thing, we're editing carefully. How do we make sure our own writing style shines through? And this source reminds us, sé consciente de tu propio estilo. Be aware of your own style.
Shine through. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because that really gets at, like, what makes writing authentic, right? It's about letting your own voice, cut through all the noise.
Yeah.
Even when you're using tools like AI tools to help.
Okay, but how do we actually do that? How do we figure out what makes our writing style ours, Especially when it's something where, I don't know, we're just so used to doing it every day.
It's almost like, how do you find your own, like, fashion sense?
Okay.
You might try things out, right?
Yeah.
You see what other people are wearing. You try different trends, but eventually you kind of gravitate toward what feels like, okay, this is me.
Yeah.
And writing's kind of the same way.
Okay.
And this source really stresses that, like, self-awareness is key.
Okay.
You've got to be paying attention to what you're doing. What are your habits? Like, are you using the same words over and over again?
Right.
Your sentences always have the same, like, rhythm to them.
Yeah.
And actually recognizing those patterns, that's, like, step one. Because then you can start to break free and develop a style that's a little more, distinct.
So it's kind of like if you're someone who always reaches for, like, a black T-shirt, maybe try some color.
Exactly.
I like that. But how does that apply to using AI well?
So AI can actually be a really, really cool tool to like expand your style.
Okay.
Because it's like, think of it like a thesaurus, but like on steroids, you know?
Okay.
So if you're feeling stuck, if you're in a rut, put in a phrase that you use all the time and see if it gives you some different options.
Okay.
And that might help you kind of discover some new ways to say what you're trying to say.
So it's using AI to like push your own boundaries, not be confined by what the AI thinks you should be doing. I like that. But this source also got me thinking about, it's not even just about individual words, right, or phrases. It's like they were talking about how AI could maybe like totally change how we think
Yeah.
about putting our ideas together. That's a pretty big deal.
It is. And I think it's worth exploring because we've been talking about AI, like how it recognizes patterns, right?
Right.
But now imagine if it could do that, not just with language,
Yeah.
but with like the way we make an argument or the way we connect ideas when we write.
Mm-hmm.
We could get to a point where AI is like, it's like a thought partner,
Wow.
helping us brainstorm, even, I don't know, like challenging us to think about stuff that we might not have on our own.
So instead of just being like, here's another word for happy,
Right.
It could be like, here are 5 other reasons why you might be experiencing happiness.
Exactly. It's like those recommendation algorithms.
Right?
Where, you watch a movie and they're like, oh, you might also like this.
Right.
But apply that to your ideas. Apply that to like creative concepts. It's really pushing those boundaries of what we think is possible.
Okay. So I'm seeing the potential here.
Yeah.
It's a little, I'll be honest, it's a little mind-blowing.
Right.
But are listeners right to be, to kind of approach this with caution? Because this source is also really clear about the fact that originality, authenticity, those things are still super important.
Yeah.
So how do we balance like all this cool potential with staying true to ourselves?
That is the question, isn't it?
It really is.
I don't know that there's an easy answer.
Yeah.
But I do think awareness is huge. The more we understand this stuff, how it works, what it's good at, what it's not so good at, the better we'll be able to use it responsibly.
So it's about being in the driver's seat, right?
Yes.
Not letting the AI take us to a place where we didn't really want to go.
Exactly, yeah.
But that requires us to, I don't know, what is it, like critical thinking?
Absolutely. It's digital literacy, too.
Yeah.
You've got to question everything. Question what the AI is telling you.
Yeah.
Question your own, assumptions about this stuff. Even question, what makes good writing.
Oh, wow.
Does that change when AI is in the picture?
Yeah.
I think so. I think we need to become, better readers, more intentional writers, for sure.
So it's like developing like a sixth sense almost for authenticity, both in what we're making and the stuff that we're seeing online every day.
Totally.
But that's a lot easier said than done.
Oh, for sure.
Especially when it's like we are just like bombarded with information all the time.
It's a conscious effort.
Yeah.
It really is. But the thing is, you already have this really powerful tool. You have your own judgment. Don't be afraid to take a second step back and just ask yourself, do I like this?
Okay.
Does this, resonate with me?
Right.
Does it feel authentic?
It's like we have to trust our gut.
Yeah.
Even when all this content we're seeing online looks perfect.
Right.
Makes you wonder,
Right.
If AI is only going to get better at sounding more human,
right.
How do we make sure that writing doesn't lose, its power, its ability to move us, make us think differently, all that?
That's a great point. I think it actually goes beyond just writing nice sentences.
Okay.
Or avoiding the same old cliches.
Right.
It's about really being intentional with our writing.
Okay.
Knowing what we want to say. Why does it matter?
So it's not enough to just, get it grammatically correct. We have to be, I don't know, writing from the heart or something.
Yeah. You've got to be bringing that authenticity.
Okay.
That vulnerability, maybe a little courage to what you write. Just being willing to share what you really think, even if it's messy, even if it's not, totally perfect.
Because it's those imperfections, right?
Yeah.
Those raw edges, I think that's what people connect with.
Yeah. We always respond to something that feels real.
Right.
Authentic.
Yeah.
It reminds us that someone else out there has felt things really deeply.
Yeah.
That they've struggled, maybe even come out stronger on the other side.
Yeah.
And those are the stories, that stay with you. And honestly, that's something that AI can't do. No matter how good it gets.
Right.
It can try to copy what we do.
Yeah.
But it can't copy the experience of being human.
That is, I mean, that is reassuring.
Yeah.
Well, we've done a lot of talking about AI today. This
have.
whole, the world of writing is changing so fast. What's, like, if you could give our listeners one thing to kind of take away from all this, what would it be?
I would say use the tools,
Okay.
see what they can do,
Yeah.
but don't ever forget how powerful your own voice is.
Okay.
AI can be awesome, right? It's a really useful tool for writing, but it should never replace, like, you, the writer,
Yeah.
You're the one who's bringing those ideas.
It's that human element. I love that. Well, you heard it here.
You did.
Own your voice.
Yes.
Tell those stories. And remember, the future is all about, not man versus machine. It's about what happens when we kind of work together.
Couldn't agree more.
I love it.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll let you go.
Sounds good.
Until next time, keep writing, everybody.